then we begin to compromise the souls of our brothers and our sisters. That's why it is incumbent upon all of us that we do what God has instructed us to do without fear, without trembling, and then without any trepidation whatsoever, but to be bold in this thing, because that roaring lion is going back and forth. He's in your house, he's on your job, he's at school, and guess what he is? He's in the church. He comes to church with us, seeking whom he may devour. But I believe in Solomon writes in the book of Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. Man, so the things that are happening in today's church world happened amongst God's people thousands of years ago. And we find the essence of this in the book of 2 Kings, chapter number 17, beginning at verse number 25 to understand, because God called a people, Israel. He called them out as his own people. Israel chose to disobey God. Their disobedience was met with tremendous patience from God. But every time God would be patient and he would forgive Israel, Israel would disobey God all over again. And so it comes to a point in biblical history where David became disobedient to God. But his heart never turned from God, but his flesh acted out. And he had to suffer the consequences of his behavior. And so his son Solomon becomes king of Israel, and Solomon's behavior was egregious because his heart turned from God. He began to serve and worship idol gods. And so it wasn't just his flesh that went wrong, but his mind and spirit. And the attention was drawn away from the righteousness of God. Now this brought upon a penalty that God promised Solomon. He would pay, but not him, but his son. And so after Solomon died, his son Rehoboam took over the kingdom. And the people of Israel wanted some easing of the rule, because Solomon was a hard taskmaster. And this was the fulfillment, the beginning of the fulfillment of the prophecy that God had given to Solomon, because he had allowed his wives to turn him from God. So many preachers today allow their wives to turn them from God because they have no control at home. And so their wives live any old kind of way, come to church and act out any old kind of way. And because they have lost control of their homes, they began to compromise the truth of God. And so now it doesn't take all of that, because we become enlightened. No, you become a jellyback, a punk, a wet. And so because you can't move your own home, you begin to change, to compromise the standard of holiness. And so Solomon allowed his wives to lead him into idol worship. And God told him that he was going to take the kingdom, not from him, but from his son. The kingdom would be split. And so we see his son Rehoboam become king. And after he becomes king, the people go to Rehoboam and says, we need you to ease up on us, king. Your father was a hard man. And we need you to ease some of that, because Solomon, he built the kingdom. He built the temple. He built his own house. He was the wisest man to ever live. He was a very, very rich king. And then all the kings came from all over the world to see King Solomon and all of his glory. But after his death, his son lost 10 of the 12 tribes. And God ordained a young man named Jerome to become king of the 10 tribes that were pulled away. And those 10 tribes went north and they became Israel. Then we had 2 tribes that remained in the south, and they were the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin. And so those 2 tribes now are identified as Judah. Well, so now we have Israel broken into 2 parts. The northern kingdom is Israel, and the southern kingdom is Judah. And all of the years of those kingdoms, the Israelites never had a righteous king. All those years, there is no righteous king of Israel, is the Bible. Every king they had was evil. Ain't that something? And most of the kings of Judah were evil. And so we find that they go into captivity because of evil leadership. Evil leadership leads astray good-intentioned people. Yeah. When the head is sick, then the body proves to be sick. It follows the way of the head. And so they paid the price. And here in 2 Kings chapter number 17, we see that Samaria falls and Israel is taken into captivity. And so the capital of Israel is Samaria. And they are taken slaves. And we see the king of Assyria, he takes Israel into captivity. And in verse number 25, the Bible reads, and so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. And so after the Assyrians took them captive, they sent their own people into Samaria. They besieged the land. They took over the land and they deported all of the Samaritans. And they sent their own people into the land. But as they began to try to practice what God had ordained for the land, things began to fall apart. See, when God speaks and man tries to defile that God has declared holy, man may prosper for a season and only for a season. But eventually God sends the lion. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord. Ain't that something? It looks like us. Well, it's the same kind of music, same kind of structure, all of that, but it's not the same because they are different spirited, different intentioned people. And they feared not the Lord. Therefore, the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Think it not strange when people in church begin to fall dead right in the presence of God. Because when you come to God's house and you defile His house, you have jeopardized your own personal soul. God is not blind. God is not ignoring the things that are going on in the church world. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the manner of the God of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the God of the land. See, this is where you have to be very careful, because when people become, when they reject God, when they are living in an apostate state, when they have rejected the truth and the righteousness of God, and they have lost the favor of God, they will come seeking for you, because they look at those who are able to get a prayer through, and they will try to join affinity with you. They'll try to become your friend, and they want to spark up a fellowship. You want to come visit with us. They'll just come in on you, and they'll present themselves as your friend, because they've come to understand that there's something righteous that they are missing, and the thing that is right that's missing in their lives is allowing the lion to come amongst them, and they are devouring them. And so here they come to you. And so I told us there's nothing new under the sun.
That's right.
Verse 27, this is the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one of the priests whom ye brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. So take one of the righteous men, put him back into the unrighteous situation, that he may teach the unrighteous how to reach the God who is righteous. All right now. Oh, they're slick now. Come on. They're slick and they're coming. Well, you come and show us how y'all do that. You can show us the way y'all work. And so can y'all bring us a service? Oh, God help me today. Verse number 28. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel and taught them how they should fear the Lord. Isn't that something? He went and taught the unrighteous how to fear our God of righteousness. Oh, you like to be there? We can share this stuff with them. These are pearls. We don't throw our pearls before the sun. You can't fool with any of it. Not only because people say, well, you got to love everybody you do. You got to love those folks from a distance. You get too close and you start catching what they have. And you are not that strong to walk along demons. And you want to be a righteous woman, a righteous man. It is not going to happen. That's right. That's why the Bible says, come out among the these separate. There is a reason. That's why the Leviticus we put difference between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean. Understand the instruction there. Moses writes, put difference. He didn't say there is a difference. He said, put difference, which means that it requires the hearer to very deliberately make sure that his lifestyle does not resemble the lifestyle of those who have gone another way. See, there's something that people say, well, it doesn't say that in the Bible, but it says also, because the Bible says, put difference. We don't go where they go, because the Bible says, put difference. We don't do what they do, because the Bible says, put difference. And that means that I'm not going to be identified with those who have come and stolen our land. I'm not going back to teach them how to serve the God that I serve. I will not be guilty of abandoning the righteousness of God. I will not be a traitor. I simply will not do it. The one priest whom they had carried away from Samaria came and brought them and taught them how they should fear the Lord. If they need a heart, you ain't going to know that. Howbeit, every nation made gods of their own and put them in the houses of the high priests, which the Samaritans had made. Every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. And so even though they would say, we want to learn how to worship your God, people don't want to know our God for righteousness. No. They want to know our God because they want the benefits. See, what most of us appreciate is the hand of God. We love the benefits. We love the blessings. Oh, God, bless me. But what we fear is the faith of God. Because the faith of God has to do with accountability. And when you talk to your child, when you're disciplined, when you get yourself out of faith, there is direct communication. We don't want direct communication from God because the faith of God has to do with sincerity and honesty and righteousness and accountability. We don't want that. We just want the hand, God, and we have ours like this. But when God's hand like this, dump God into my hand. And so people come seeking the blessing of God. And that's why there is a doctrine of prosperity in the church. That's right. Oh, God. That's why people can't stop preaching lies. Because the more lies they preach, the more money they get. See, people love to hear you tell them, God's going to bless you. You're going to get what you desire. You're going to get it. They love it. But when you start telling people that they are sin, they get mad. When you tell them that you cannot live unrighteously and make it into glory, they want to kill you. Well, you're the one who's trying to give people a word of life.
Yes.
But it is the nature of the ungodly, unholy man